Thank you, Chairwoman Young, Chairman Farrell, and other members of the Joint Legislative Budget Committee. I'm Stephen Acquario, the Executive Director of the New York State Association of Counties, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. I'm here on behalf of NYSAC President William Cherry of Schoharie County and Rob Astorino of the County Executives Association and our entire county membership. First, let me say how much we appreciate that your committees have provided this opportunity to gather feedback on the state budget. The state legislature has inherent authority and influence under Article 7 of the state's Constitution with respect to the appropriation of state revenue, and we value the opportunity to present the local government perspective. In recognition of the time constraints, I'll summarize my written remarks to leave time for any questions the committee may have. Controlling property taxes. Over the last several years, the governor and the legislature have been careful to not impose new mandates or cost shifts on counties and other local governments. When new mandates are created or there's an increase in the cost of existing mandates or a shift in cost to local governments without any flexibility to mitigate these costs, we all recognize that this will hurt local taxpayers. In recognition of this, the legislature and the governor have enacted two significant local government mandate relief reforms over the past few years: a takeover of the local Medicaid cost and significant pension reforms. We appreciate these reforms and we will continue to work with you to build on these successes. To this end, we do not support the governor's proposal to shift significant higher education costs in New York City and further to dismantle the local Medicaid cap for New York City. In fact, both would be counterproductive to the positive work we have done in recent years to improve the accountability to local taxpayers by reducing the growth of costs for local governments imposed by state mandates. What are mandates? As a reminder, counties and New York City must raise more than $12 billion annually in local taxes just to support 9 state-mandated programs. A few of them are Medicaid, public assistance and safety net, child welfare, preschool special education, early intervention, probation, indigent defense, youth detention, and pension costs. Put another way, counties in New York City spend $234 million each week in local taxes for these 9 state-mandated programs. Costs that local governments in most states do not fund to this degree. This is a major reason why New York's has high property taxes compared to the rest of the states. While we highlight the 9, there are more than 40 programs counties are mandated to provide and fund on behalf of the state, plus dozens of regulations, labor and environmental standards that must be adhered to. Complying with each uses up local resources. Last year alone, the Office of Children and Family Services, the Offices of Temporary Disability Assistance, and the Department of Health issued more than 50 administrative directives or guidance letters to counties that had to be adhered to. With respect to government consolidation, the governor continues to make consolidation a top priority. Counties have long advocated for greater efficiencies and innovation in government, and we continue to do so. There's no doubt that communities can benefit from streamlining government operations, whether through consolidation of functions through shared services or taxing jurisdictions with voter approval. Our goal is the same as the state's: to stabilize and reduce the tax burden while continuing to provide excellent public services to those in need. The state's position continues to evolve. This year, the state budget contains a $20 million prize for a consolidation competition at the local level. Last year, you appropriated $150 million for a local government restructuring program, but the application process was never announced, and that funding has now been repurposed for anti-poverty programs and downtown revitalization efforts. The budget zeroes out funding for the ongoing $40 million local government and performance efficiency program, but provides $80 million in reappropriations for the Financial Restructuring Board. If it sounds confusing, it is. Changing policies and incentives year to year is confounding to local officials who would consider these efforts. Instead, let's go back to the consolidation idea and start with consolidations that provide mandate relief and reduce the cost of government at the county level. This has proven to be successful for the taxpayers of New York. Indigent defense is a state program that counties are required to provide. Let's build on the state settlement of the Harrell Herring litigation to consolidate the services and funding for indigent defense services across the state. The goal should be exactly what is stated in the recently introduced two-house bipartisan bill sponsored by Senator DeFrancisco of Onondaga County and Assemblymember Fahey of Albany County, and that is to create a uniform indigent defense system by expanding and improving these services in all counties, and for the state to gradually take over all of the cost of indigent criminal defense services as envisioned under federal and constitutional law. The 16-17 state budget will be the starting point for fundamentally altering the justice system in New York to ensure the best and fairest representation for all individuals. Counties strongly support the development of a state aid funding roadmap to implement these reforms statewide and to lay the groundwork for a full state takeover of these costs. With respect to safety net and public assistance, a few years ago, the state increased the county share of safety net funding to 71% and correspondingly reduced the state share to 29%. Initially, this was offset by fully federalizing both state and local TANF costs. Counties strongly objected to this change at the time, and it is becoming a significant challenge for many counties. Counties are urging the legislature to gradually restore the historic 50-50 funding shift. With respect to community colleges and full-time equivalent aid, in an era in which the property tax caps are less than 1%, token increases in community college aid will hit the poor and working class students who rely on community colleges the hardest in the form of higher tuition. It also hits families who may have few kids to get through college and rely on community colleges for the first 2 years of affordable education before sending their kids to the more expensive four-year school. Now, with sales tax in the doldrums, the only source of county support is the property tax. A meaningful increase in aid would take the pressure off county property taxes. Recall that counties can't reduce their funding without a maintenance of effort penalty, which is a safeguard to the state that its aid will not supplant baseline local support. The societal benefit of community colleges is enormous. They allow people without great wealth to move up the economic and educational ladder. Today, we call upon the state legislature to increase the FTE for community colleges by $250. Finally, with respect to public safety, we believe the state should allow counties to impose a $1.20, a local benefit surcharge equal to the state's on all wireless devices that are capable of accessing 911. We also ask you to reject a decrease in navigation law state funding cuts for our sheriff departments who monitor our waterways. And finally, two last things. With respect to consolidating primary elections, we ask the state legislature to consolidate the federal and state primaries to a date before August 18th and fully fund early voting initiatives advanced in the governor's budget. Lastly, the use of bank settlement funds and transportation priorities remain confusing to local officials. Again, competitions are used and certain areas of the state will be penalized. All areas of the state should benefit by formula from these funding programs. Thank you very much for your time and attention, and I'm pleased to take any questions.